Good day, everyone. Welcome to Simple Codes with Aziz. In this tutorial, we'll be walking ourselves through how to perform CRUD operations in Laravel. So now, CRUD operation simply means create, read, update, and delete operation in Laravel. So now, with this operation, we can actually build applications like inventory, user registration, and other things. So, as long as it involves creating data, reading data, updating data, and deleting data, so we term this as CRUD operations in programming. So now let's just get started with the development. So now I'm going to be heading to my Visual Studio Code. So in the previous tutorial, we created a table migration called create post table, and we created a post controller, and we also created a post model. So now the first thing that I'll be doing right now is that I will want to add the various fields that I will want to use in my post table. So now, for the sake of this tutorial, I want to create a post application. So we we will add, then we will update, then we will delete, and we will read post details. So now the first field that I want to add here is a table. So I'm going to be creating a string called title. Then what other fields will I be using? Let's say I want another table field called content. So I guess this should actually do it for now. So we already have an ID field, we have a title field, and we have the content field. So let me just put another one here. Let me call it category. So now this is actually what the fields I'll be needing in my table. So another thing that I want to do right now is that I want to come inside my posts. I want to come inside uh this post model. So then what I'll actually be interested in adding is that I'll just want to specify the tables that I want to like the tables that I want to update, the fields that in that table that I want to update. So let me just put it that way. So we have protected $ fillable. So this is the field that I want to fill. So now we just need to come here to title, category, and content. So I'll just add title, then I will add category, then I will add content. Content. So there's another parameter that we can use as factory. So this thing too should be there. So this too is essential. So now once we are now done with this, so let me check if there's any other thing to do. So I've already created the fillable fields. One, I've already created the fields. Two, then what's next? I think I'm good for now. So the next thing is just to create a migration. We need to migrate the changes that we have done inside the database. But before I actually do that, have we set up our database? Fine. Let me come and open my exam control panel. So I'm opening Apache and I'm starting MySQL. In this tutorial, I'll be making use of the MySQL database. So now what I'll still want to come over here to do is that I want to check my .env file. Are we actually using MySQL as a database? As we can see here, we still have SQLite. So I'll want to change this to MySQL, then uncomment all this. So the name of my application right here is let's say tutorial, or the name of my database, let me call this tutorial. Let me use my tutorial. Then the root username, I want to set it to root by default. Then I'm not using any password. So I'm going to save this. So now what I will do, let me just expand my terminal. So I'll just run this command php artisan. So I'll call the migrate. So let's wait and see what is actually going to happen. So as we can see, it's giving us a warning that the database my tutorial does not exist on the MySQL connection. Would you like to create it? Then I'll type yes. Is either you go to your database PHP myadmin to create the database before you run your migration. But notwithstanding, if Laravel detects that the database does not exist, it will prompt you whether you want to create a new database or not. So in my own case, I'm going to be typing yes. So as we can see, all done. So all my migration files are now there. So now what I will want to do is to start my server back. PHP artisan serve. So now we can see that we don't have any issues with running our database migration and starting our server. So now I want to come inside my browser to check localhost slash phpMyAdmin to check if we actually have the file that we are talking about, like the table that I just created. So I'm going to wait for phpMyAdmin to come up. So as we can see, my phpMyAdmin is up. Then the next thing for me to come and check is this table right here. This database that I just created my tutorial. So under this my tutorial database, we can see the set of tables that we have there. So now this is the posts table. As we can see, we have the ID, the created art, updated art, the title, category, and we have the content. So which means that these fields that we created are actually working. So now the next thing is to just get into the actual coding of our post application. So the first thing I'll come here to do is I'm going to be creating inside my route, then web dots. So here now, let's say I want to create a route, a get request, then I'm going to be navigating to the add, then under this post controller, it should be inside an array, inside post controller class. Then I want to use a function called add, then the name that I want to give it, let's say add. Then I'm saving. As we can see, this is just me creating the address that we type in your URL. But I have not created the actual logic and the function that is going to happen in the background. So now let me come inside this post controller. Then I'm going to be creating another function, public function, public function add, then parameter request, sign request. Then I'm going to be returning a view. Then this view, let me call this view add. So at the moment now, we don't have any view called add. So what I would be interested in doing right now is that I'm going to come over to my views here. Then I'm going to create a new file. I'll name it add.blade.php. So now this will create a new view for us. So I'm going to be using an HTML5. So now inside this place, this add now, I want to, number one, I want to create a, a post details. So now I'll be making use of form. Don't let me be concerned with the action or the method first. So I'm going to come here and type uh, post title, post title. Let me put it in a label, then post title. I'm breaking it. Then inputs text name is equals to title. I'm breaking. So label. So I'm going to be adding a category. Then inputs text name category. I'm breaking. So label contents break, then input text name content, or should I just use, let's just use a text area name is equals to content. So I guess this is okay now, like this. So now let's navigate to our page that we just created /add. So let's see if we can actually run that page. As we can see, we have that page now. So let me add a submit button. So input, type submit, name submit. So value is submit. So let me come back here to refresh. Let's come back to refresh. We can see that the changes have actually happened. So now let me just put an H1 here to give a description of what this page is doing. So let's say add a new post details. So now I'm going to refresh. So I guess it's a little bit better right now. So now this category, I'll want to create something unique here because this category will actually be something that we are going to create first before we actually put the post inside the category. I don't know if can actually understand what I'm trying to say, because now for us to have an item, we must put them inside the category. So now this category will actually come first. So I guess I'm making sense right now. So now what I'll do is that I'll want to create another migration called category, then make sure that I can actually create those category first, then I'll put this post inside those categories. So don't let me just bore you with this theory. So let's just go into the creation of a category. So now I'm going to be creating another migration, PHP artisan make migration create categories table. Because as you can see now, I'm using the plural form of category, create categories table. So let's wait for it to create our migration for us. We can see that it has actually created a migration file. So I'm going to come inside this file, then add what's it called? Add a name, add a string called name. So basically, this category, I just want it to contain just a single uh I want it to contain a single field called name. So then there will be posts under those categories. So now I'm going to save this. Then I'm going to create a model. So PHP artisan create make model category. You can see that here now I'm using a capital letter C, then is the singular version of category for the model, then use the plural version for the migration. So this has actually been created successfully. So now this under this category, so what we'll need here is that we need to add the use as factory one. Then we need to put the fillable feeds, fillable, fillable feeds. Let me terminate this as factory. So fillable feeds. Basically here we only have the name. We only have the name field, which is fillable. Then I'm going to run my migration file again. PHP artisan migrates. We can see there's no problem with the migration file. So now what I will do right now is that I'm going to serve my data, I'm going to start my server again. So I'm going to run. So as we can see, my server is back up because when you want to create a migration file, you have to stop the server. So then once you are done with creating those migrations, then you start your server again. So the next thing that I want us to work on is the relationship that is going to be between this table. So I want to establish a relationship between these two tables. So basically in Laravel, this is how you are going to do that. So uh, I'm going to create a function here. We are inside the category model. So now I'm going to do public function. You can name it anything, but let me just use cat posts. Let me use cat posts category posts. So then I'm going to return $this, then point to as many, as many. Uh, so you are now going to define the model that it is going to point to. So I'm going to type post, then class, then I'm saving it. So this is all what you need to do here. So you are going to make a function. So then you return this as many this. So now you now come again. Let me just copy this so that it will reduce stress. So you now come to this post. You know that the post is the one that will belong to many categories. So we just come here. So we can call this one post cart. So we can say $this belong to. So what is the category name? The category model, the class, category class. Then we are going to reference that uh that base key and the foreign key that we want to use. So in this case, we are using the ID to match the ID of the category table. So I'm going to be specify category underscore ID. So this category is the table, then the field that we want to use to match the table. So that is what we are going to use. That's what we are going to do. So I'm going to terminate it and end. Let's see if we can import namespace for the model here. Then this category, let me import this namespace too. So now I think we are actually done with the basic thing of setting up the table. So now, and my database is and my server is also running. So now the next thing I want to do is that I'll come to my post controller. Then we already have the add. So let me create another public function to add my category. Public function add cards. So request $sign request. Then I'm going to return view called add cards, then saving it. So now I'll just need to come to this view and create another blade. So new file, add cards dot blade dot php. So now once we have this HTML5, so let's say I want to create a form to add that. Then the action, let me leave that for now. So now the only thing that we'll be needing here is the name of that category. Then I'm breaking it. Then input text. Then name is equals to name. So then I want a submit button. Input type submit, name submit, value submit. So let me create the URL that we are going to be using to run this in our browser. So let me create the URL. So add cards. So coming here now, slash add cards. Let's see, and we now have our category. So now let's now run the logic of adding that category. So I'm going to be creating a new route here. So this time I'm going to be creating a post request. A post request to let's just call this uh add cart 2. Let's call this add cart 2. Then post controller class, then add cart 2, then the name will be add cart 2. So I'm terminating it. So now this time I'm making a post request. This post request is what I'm going to be using to send my data to the backend, then performing the logic on it. So I'm going to come inside my post controller here. Then I'm going to be typing public function add cart, add cart 2, then request, $ request. Then here now, this is where the logic actually begins. So now the data that we collected from the user, what we have here as the name. So what will happen to it is that we are going to, number one, we first validate our data. So how do we validate that? Let's call this $sign data is equals to $ request. Request is what we actually collected from the user. So we call this request at the backend. So request validates. So we are going to put them inside an array. Request validates. So the first thing here is the name. So then what are we validating here? So we want it to be a string, then a maximum of 5, maximum of 50 character. I guess this is actually good. So now what I'm going to be doing right now is that I'm going to be creating this category. I'm going to be sending this data inside my database. So now let's add that data inside the database. So I'm going to be typing post, then create $data. So this is practically what we want to do. So and at the point of validating this, so we can just make this required. Can make this required, then maximum of 50 characters. Then we can see that it's throwing an error here. It's because we have not imported the namespace. So now import namespace is going to import that at the top of our code. Then I'm going to save this, and we still need to come back to this add cards because there are some things we have not defined the URL that we want to send our data to. So I'm going to actually navigate to routes. Then this route is add cards to. Add card to. Then the method, I'm going to be using the post method. Then we need to put the cross-site reference boundary so that our data will be secured while sending. So now let's come back here and check. So we don't have any issue. So under this our post controller, so once we are done, we'll want to go back, we want to redirect us to a URL. So return redirect, redirect to let's say /add cart. So now then let me save. Now let's run this. Let's say novel, then I submit it. Let's say if it's going to throw us an error. Let's wait while this page is loading. So as we can see, say method eliminate validation validator max 50 does not exist. It means that I've made a mistake in my syntax. So let me run to my code and make the necessary changes. So now let's examine that part. Max 50. Oh, this is where the mistake is supposed to be a colon. So let me save it and come back inside my browser. Let me just back. So then let's say novel. Let's see. Then I submit. So let's wait. Field title does not have a default value. Connection MySQL insert into posts, which means that we made a mistake here. We are sending it to the post table instead of the category table. So let's just type category here, then import the namespace, then save it. So let's type novel. So let's see. As we can see, it did not give us any positive or negative response. But let's try and go inside our database. Let me refresh this page. Then once I refresh, let's wait. Then these categories, we can see that it has actually created that name for us. It has created the category. So with the created art, we can see is actually bringing in the date and time, the updated art, the date and time, and the name of that category, which is called novel. So if there is any feature that I want to add, because I don't actually like how this page is actually submitted without giving us a proper validation. So now let's try and see if we can add a validation to it. So, so here now, as we redirected here, it is supposed to show us a positive or a negative response. So I'm going to be adding this with message. What will be the message? Successful, successful uh, category created successfully. So that is the message that I want to see. So now here inside our add cards blade, let me put that message here. So we are going to say at if session session as message. So let me end this if. So now we are going to be launching it inside an H4. So we are going to say session session. So I'm going to be getting the message. So this is a way that we can actually add validation to it. So the success message. So now let me create another category. So let's say sports. So now I'm going to submit. We can see that it is bringing inside a category created successfully. So I think we are fine for now. So let me refresh this page. We can see that it has created another category for us called sports. So now let's now create the actual post. Let's create the post. So this category now will contain uh will contain, let's say, like a drop down or a drop down of the categories. So I'm not going to be using a text field. I'm going to be using a select option field. So now this add blade. So under this post controller, here now under this add, I want to pass extra data to the view. So I want to pass the the category, the category. So you can say category or. So this category or is used to fetch all the categories that we have inside our table. So then how do we now pass that variable or category to the front end? So this is what we'll do. So we'll compact $ category. So we don't have to include the $ there. So this is how the syntax look. So now inside my blade here, under this category section, I already said I'm not going to be using an input field. So I'm going to be using select. So the name should be category. Then the options. So value. Here now, let me use a for loop to loop through the content of my categories. So at for each, so $category as assign category. So I'm going to end for each. So then what's next? So what we'll be doing here is that we'll be bringing in our option. So the value that I want to create here is that I want to put the value to be the ID of that particular category. So I'm going to say $ category, then our category at what? At ID. So here too, I'm going to put $category, category, then the name. So here, what will be displayed will be the name, but the actual value will be the ID. So now let's run this. Let's run this if it's actually working. So let me refresh this page. We can see it's loading them here. We have the novel and we have the sports. So this is actually very interesting. So this is what is going to be displayed. So we add the title, we put the category, the content, then we submit. So now I think we are almost ready. So the next thing that I'll be doing right now is that I will now send my data into the database. So now let's not forget. So I'm going to be creating a route to send my data. So let me name that route add to. Then the method, I'm going to be using a post method. So then I should not forget the cross site reference forgery, CSRF. It's going to be in lowercase. Let's not forget. So now under this web.php, you're going to be creating this. You're going to be adding this. So add to, we have this now. So I'm coming back to the controller to create the function, public function add to request, $request. Then the first thing that I'll be doing is the data that I want to collect. So the data, I'm going to be validating it. First, validate. First, validate. So what I'll be doing here is that I'm going to be validating the title. Is the name title? The title, this is category, this is content. Okay, it's fine. So I'm going to be validating this title is an array. So I'm going to be setting it as required. So another thing is validating the category. The category field is also required. So the content, I want it to be required. So now what I'll be doing here is that I'll just call on my posts method. Then I'm going to be calling grades, then calling my data to it. So once I'm done, return, redirect, to /add, then with message, then post created successfully. Then we're going to be terminating it. So this is what we'll need to do to create the post. We can see that it's almost the same thing as the addition of category. So this is adding a post. So the first thing is we created the view to display it. Then once we collect the data, we created another function that will handle the data correction. So that's how it is done. So now what next? So I'm going to be coming to this blade. Let me copy this validation, the success message. Then I'm going to be pasting it just above this so that it will display my message. So now I'm coming here. Then the post title, let's say, okay, I have a category called sports. Okay, let's say World Cup host nation. So this category of sports. So then the content is who will who will be hosting the next World Cup. Then once I submit, let's see, we have validates required does not exist. So I have a mistake in my spelling. Let's come back to the post controller. Oh, this is where the error is required. So let me refresh. We can see it's saying that post created successfully. So let me come to my post table. We can see that it's actually saving the category ID for us. Then we have this content who will be hosting the next World Cup. Then the title, which is World Cup Host Nation. So now we have our data. We have a view for adding our data. So we have the create. Out of the CRUD contains 4 operations. We have the create, we have the read, we have the update, and we have the delete. So now we are done with adding data inside our database. We are done with the first part, which is the create. So now the next thing is how we are actually going to read data that we have put in our MySQL database. So now, what I'll be doing first here is that number one, I'm going to be creating a public function that will enable us to read our posts. So public function read posts. then requests. So then I'm going to call all my posts. So to just add all these posts and view it on my screen. So what I'll be doing is that since we already even have a relationship, let's check. We have a relationship. Yeah, where did I establish it? Okay, we have this cat post. We have this, we have posts, which belongs to the category. So now it will be even more better if we can call the category. Then once we call the category, we should be able to fetch those posts that belongs to those categories. So let's get started. So now let me come to my post controller. So I'm going to be calling my category. So category or I'm calling on my category, then return view. This view, I'm going to read posts. Then I'm going to be compacting compact category. So now let me create this view. Let me create this view. Read posts dot blade dot php. So now I'm going to be creating an HTML5. So let me put an h4. Let me call this title all posts. Then I want to actually create, let me put them in the post inside the table. Let me put them inside the table. So let me call it table, then a table row. So under this table row, or let me just do it this way. That's for each. That's for each. For each dollar sign category. That's dollar sign category at end for each. At end for each. So with this, I'm going to create a new row. Then my table data. So inside my table data, let me even see if I've actually let me call this, let me call this row. Let me call this row. Last sign category at name. Let me see if it will work. Then let me check if I've created. Okay, I've not created a route for it. I've not created a route. So this is going to be a get request. So read posts. So now let me come here and navigate to read posts. We can see we have this and we have this. It's actually working for category to view all our categories. So now what I'll actually do here is that I'll come to my read posts method. So here I want to create an H1. Let's say H1 will be too much. Let's say like H3 to hold my category name. Category, let's sign category name. Then here, I'll want to now reference all the posts that belongs to that category. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. That's what I'm going to be doing next. So here, I want to do this at for each. That's for each dollar sign category So I'm going to reference this. Let me check the name that I've used for the relationship category. So as many this. So cat posts. Let me use cat. That's the name cat posts. So cat posts. Sign cat posts as $ posts. So as $post, then at end for each. So now $posts at title. Let me call the title. Then if I come back here and refresh, is it throwing an error? Undefined variable $cat post. So I guess we are not going to add the $ to it. So now let's refresh. So unknown column posts dot category ID in where clause. So let's start from post where post dot category ID is equals to 1 and posts the category ID is not null. So now let's trace this error. So what this error is actually saying is that the category ID of 1 does not exist for, like, as it is looping from the first. Let me come back here. So as it is looping, it fetch the first category. Then under the category 1 is not seeing anything. So that's what is actually happening. So there's a quick fix around that. So what I think I can do right now is that, okay, let's refresh repost. So it's still bringing out that error. So now let's try and check the, okay, where post the category ID. I guess it's about the uh the relationship that we are established. So let me come here. Oh, we don't have anything. So this category ID, okay, this is pointing to the category ID. So then these two, let's just put it to point to the post category. So post on that category section. So let's use this. Then let's save. Let's save this with this. Okay, now it's actually working. So now I don't think we have any problem, but we just need to actually set things very well. So let me come inside this add, no, this read posts. So let me put them very well. Let me arrange things very well. So I'm going to be creating a th. Let me call this. What's the first thing? Okay, the name, then under th. Let me call this category. Let me put this as the content, th. Let me call this the content. So now, what I'll actually be doing is that, so I'm going to be using this at for each, $category as $category. So now, at end for each. So now, so what I'll do is that, okay, now how do I, let me just put it this way. So I'm thinking of a way to actually build this like the view of reading our posts. So let me just remove this. Okay, we have this, we have the category, all posts, we have novel, We have the sports. We have the sports. So now, uh, let's say, let me just comment this out first and see what we already have on ground. So we have this. So now, let me just style this a little bit. So in the case of we don't have any post, we can say that we don't have any post under the novel. So let me just use at for else for that, for else. So let's just say dollar sign category at cat post as dollar sign post. So if it is empty, I want to create I want to create a tr with no post. Then, but if we actually have a post, then it should go ahead and do this for us. It should go ahead and do this for us. So let me just close this out. Let me delete the one that I've done before. Then come back here and refresh. So we can see under this novel category, we don't have any posts. Then under the sports category, we have a post. Guess it's making sense now. So now, what can we do again? What can we do? Let me just increase the font size of this from H4 to like H2 so that I can stand out. Then H2, we have this. So let me just append something here. Category name. So by coming here, you can see category name, novel. So we don't have any post under it. So category name, sports, then we have a post under it. So now there's another thing that we can actually do. We are done with the view, we've done with the create, we have done with the read. So the next thing here is how we are going to handle the updates and the deletes. So, and I'm even thinking that this view that I actually have now is not actually very good like that. So what I feel we can do is that, okay, let's try and arrange them inside a table, a proper table. So let me just try and create, let me create, let me call this as for loop. It's for each dollar sign category as dollar sign category. Or let me just call, where is this post controller? So let me call all posts so that I can use the relationship for post. So let me call posts in this case now, posts. So I'm compacting posts to post. So for each post, then I want to create a TR, then the TD should be the table heading. We have the name, we have another table heading called the category, then we have another table heading called the content. So this is another way of viewing your data. So I'm just trying to make another example. So this TD, I'm going to have dollar sign post at dollar sign post at name, at title, sorry, title, then post at content. I guess that's the two fields that we have. That's the two fields that we have. So, and concerning the category, which is the third field, category. So I'm going to be bringing in the relationship posts. Then what's the name that I used in this relationship under post? So that is post cards, post category. So you're going to come here at post category, then the name of the category. So let's see if this will actually work out. So it is not going to throw us an error trying to access Boolean value, trying to access array of sets on value of type Boolean. So now let's go back here, post at title. Let's see what is wrong. Let's see what is wrong. Post all. So then this category, we have okay, we already have a variable called posts earlier. So let's name this post one. Post one and see if this will actually work. Let's see. And that's not what is wrong. So let's try and troubleshoot. So what we can actually do here is that, okay, let's troubleshoot more. Then we have this. Okay, where is it? So post one. Okay, let's just rename this. Let's comment this out. Let's see if it will work. So let's comment this out. Let's comment this out. Then you can see if it is going to work. So we can see that this is bringing it out that attempt to read property name or no. So now I guess it's because of the name that is actually conflicting. That's why it's bringing that out for us before. So now what we should just notice, okay, attempt to read property name or no. So what we can still troubleshoot is that this relationship that we have here. So what we can do is that, okay, let's come to the post controller. So we have this category ID as the relationship here. So now, what do we think we can do is that this category, so what field do we want to actually use to point to our category table? So let's say we want to use the ID. So let's use ID to point to it. So now let me refresh. So now I guess it's now coming out nice now. So we have the name of our news, we have the category, and we have the content right here. So let's see. Oh, I guess there's a mistake here. So it's bringing out under category entirely for us. So what do we do in this case? So what do we do in this case? Well, let's try and troubleshoot. So under this read posts category, read posts blade. So we can just okay post one postcard name. So let me even come here. Let me come here. So where is our post? We have the category of two. So the category. So I guess this place that we are pointing is where the arrow might be. So this post. So let's just type category and see if this will work. So let's see. So now it's actually working because what to this thing actually means that we want to point to the category table with a field in our post table. So what's that field? We have this field here. We have this field called category. So we want it to match the ID of this category table. So that is actually where we are doing the mistake. So I guess everything is fine now. It's making more sense. So now let's just try and add a new post. Let's add a new post so that we can see that everything is actually working fine. So post title, let's say the great book, so which is a novel. Then the content is going to be like, okay, this book is very interesting. Interesting. So then I'm going to submit. So let's see, we have post created successfully. Then let me now navigate to read post. So we can see now that it is actually working fine. So now concerning the update and the delete part, so I'm going to be for the updates, I'm going to be actually creating a new URL for that. Then let me just call this URL. Let me call this URL update post. Update post. Update post. So this is where I'm going to be updating my post, but it has to take in another parameter. So I'm going to be taking the post ID as a parameter this time around. So then I'm going to be creating a view. So let me just try and duplicate this add to okay, let me just create one, then copy the fields that I want. So let me just say update post dot blade dot php. So here now I'm going to be in an HTML5. So here now, so form action should be routes. Okay, let me use this routes. Then I'm going to be putting update post to update post to. Then my method is going to be a post request. Then cross site reference forgery. Then let me copy those fields. I don't want to type them again. So then this is all what I'll be needing. So update post. Then I want to do this. So now, then the value is going to be, the value is going to be, what's it called? The value is going to be, okay. Let me go to this post controller and set up the method first so that I can determine the variable to use inside my updates function. Updates update post. So request dollar sign request. Then the int, I'm going to be passing an extra parameter. So this ID that I've actually created here, so I want to put it as an integer, int $sign ID. Then I want return view, then updates 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 post update post. Then I'm compacting, then my post. Then I'm going to terminate this. So before I do this, I want to fetch post. Post is equals to then post. Then I want to filter my post down to the one that actually have an ID that we have passed earlier. So where ID is equals to $sign ID, then first. So that is how you filter. So if we want to get all, we use the all. Then if we want to get the first one, the only, like, let's say we just want a unique row, so we use the first function. So this is all what we'll be needing here. So now what do we still need again? We need inside this our read post. Let's say we want to add an extra row called we need an extra row called updates. So what we'll be doing is that I'm just going to be coming here. So I want to put an anchor tag. So I'm going to be navigating to a route. I'm going to be navigating to a route, then called update post, then with a parameter called ID, then this ID, I want to pass the parameter of $post1, then at ID. So this is actually what we need. So we are going to this route, then we are passing an extra parameter called the ID. So now let's come to our posts and let's see if we don't actually have any error. So where is this? Okay, I have not defined the content of this link. Let's say updates, updates. So, and let's see what is going to happen. So we have these updates. If you check the bottom left, so you're going to see updates ID 1, and this one is ID of 2. So now that is set. So let me just click any of those links and let's check. So if I click on read post updates, you can see it's now actually ready. So let's see why. Okay. Oh, I forgot something here. So this is an array. So and this is how we create the content. So we are saying this is pointing to the ID. So let me just come back here. Then up, you can see that it is actually bringing it out nice now. So /1. So if I click on this updates, so our route update 2 is not defined. So let's see if we can come inside this web routes and use a post request. I use a post request for the update 2. So let me call this update 2, and let me call this update 2. So let's see what is actually happening here. So, I mean, let's refresh, then updates. So undefined variable category. So we now have a route called this, then the only thing that is throwing error is that we don't have a variable called category. So let's come back to our post controller here. So now it's because we did not send the category to the uh to the blade, because this place now, this read post, okay, update posts here, you can see that we reference the $ category there. So then we did not pass it to the front end, so that's why it's throwing us an error. So category all, we don't need to filter out the category. So we want all the category to be there. Category. So let me put them inside quotes. Let me close it. Then I'm going to come back here and refresh. So as we can see, we now have a full page. So now what I want us to do here is that, okay, this post, we want, anytime I want to update, we want to prefill this place with the previous value. So then I'll come back here. Then under this value, I'm going to say post, unless I post at title. Then here, so the value here, value equals to okay, $ post at content, So now let's refresh and let's see. So we can see that this one is appearing here. So it remains this. Let's see what is wrong. Okay, let's just shift this to this place so that we can have a value here. So now everything is set. So we just need to update our we just need to do our update logic. So now we'll come to our post controller again. So now we'll type public function update post 2 because that's the name that we have actually used, update post 2. So now request. So then we're going to return redirect. Once we are done updating, we want to go back to the read post again. Return redirect to read posts, then with a message, then with posts updated successfully. So now this is where we'll start. So we still need to validate our data. So let me just come back here and copy this. Let me come here and copy this. So one thing that I would just want us to do right now is that, okay, inside this update post, so I just want to create an hidden data field. So import type hidden, then the name, I want the name to be ID. I want the name to be ID, then the value, I want the value to be $post at ID, so that whenever I'm passing this, you can see that since I've made it hidden, it is not reflecting on our page, so that whenever I want to submit, I'm going to be submitting this by default. So it's going to submit it to with the rest of the data, the title. So now I now have 4 data that is being submitted. We have the category, we have the title, we have the content, and we have the ID. So that I want to submit with it. So what I'll now do is that I'll come back inside my post controller. So, and I'll now say ID is equals to $request, then they get the inputs, then I want the ID inputs. So to get for the title is going to be request inputs, then you put title inside. But in this case, I'm going to be getting only the ID in this case. So now what I will now do is that I want to now filter my data to only update the post with this particular ID. So I'm going to be saying $post now be equals to posts where ID, so $ID, so first, so that's the first thing to do. So now the next thing is that I want to update the fields. So I'll just be like, okay, let's post at post at title is equals to request input title. So request input title, post at category content. So these are what I'm going to be doing. So then at the end of the day, so then I'll call the save method. So I'm saving it. So now let's test what we have actually done to see. So word cup, let me just add another thing here. So ornaments. So then I'm going to be putting the category as novel this time around. So then let me submit and see what is going to happen. You can see now that it has actually reflected my changes. This tournament that I added has shown then the novel. The category has changed from sports to novel. So, but let me come to these read posts and add this session to it so that it can actually show that okay, we have actually updated our page. So let me come back here. Tournaments. Let me add nation good tournament. Then I'm changing this category to sports. World Cup tournament. Let me add to the body of the content tournament. So then I'm going to submit now. So let's wait. Okay, you can see that the post updated successfully. So we now have this. So now let's say we want to update the second one. So we just come to updates. So we come book, the great book to study. Then I'm going to be putting this one to sports, then submit. So we can see to study sports, we can see that this update is working perfectly too. So we are done with the creating, we are done with the read, we are done with the update. So the next thing is the delete. So the first thing I'll come to do here is that the delete is very simple. So let me just call this post. So I'm going to be creating a route called delete post, delete post. Now I don't need a view for that. So I just need to come to my controller here, then public function delete post request $request. Then I just need to call that particular, oh, I'll need to pass an ID to that delete. I need to pass an ID. So slash ID. So the next thing I'll come here to do is that, okay, this I'm going to be calling that an integer $ID. Then, so I'm going to call that post. Post is equals to, so post where ID is this ID. So call the first one, call the first one. Then I'm going to call post, then delete. So I'm going to save it. So anytime I call the post delete, this is going to actually work. Then I'm going to be redirecting to this page. Then let me just copy this. So post deleted successfully. So what I'm going to be doing here is that, okay, inside my read post, I'm going to be adding this to it. I'm going to be adding this. So delete. So, then let me come back here and paste the delete. So let me just let me delete the second one and let's see. Oh, the get method is not supported for route delete post 2. So it's telling me not to use the get method. So let's see. Delete post. Method not allowed. Okay, let me use the get method. Let me use get method this time. So let me refresh. So now we can see that it has actually deleted one of those posts. So let me navigate to add again. Add. Let me navigate to add. So let me just add a random text. So I'm going to be creating a novel. So read posts. Then if I click on delete, then it actually deleted that particular post for us. So now this is how to actually perform a CRUD operation in Laravel. I hope you have been able to gain a lot during the course of this tutorial. So thank you very much for watching. Just stay glued to the YouTube channel to learn a lot, so as we still have more content that is still coming up. So thank you very much. Uh, have a great day. Bye.